Ever wonder what a $3 billion house looks like? We're about to show you not just one, but 15 of the most expensive homes owned by the richest black men in the world. From tech moguls to sports legends, these guys ain't playing when it comes to luxury. $3 billion spread across 15 homes. That's some serious cash, right? We're talking about cribs that cost more than some countries' GDPs. These black billionaires are living large, and we're gonna take you inside their wild world of wealth. Mohammed Ibrahim, you've heard of smart homes, but what about a $1 billion house that's actually making the world smarter? Our number 15 richest black man ditched the typical billionaire bling for something way cooler. His crib in Monaco, it's not just loaded with tech, it's changing the game in Africa. Meet Mohammed Ibrahim, the telecom tycoon with a net worth of $1.2 billion. This guy ain't your average billionaire. He co-founded Celtel, one of Africa's biggest cell phone companies, and sold it for a whopping $3.4 billion in 2005. But instead of splurging on gold toilets and diamond-encrusted everything, Ibrahim decided to use his fortune to give back. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's his house like? Well, buckle up, because Ibrahim's Monaco mansion is next level. We're talking about a place that's part luxury pad, part high-tech command center. This isn't just a home, it's a philanthropy hub with a view of the Mediterranean. Imagine walking into a living room that looks like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but instead of alien tech, you've got cutting-edge communication systems that Ibrahim uses to spread broadband access across Africa. The walls are probably covered in interactive maps showing real-time data on internet connectivity in different African countries. But don't think it's all work and no play. This is Monaco after all. Ibrahim's crib likely has all the luxe amenities you'd expect from a billionaire's pad. We're talking infinity pools, home theaters, and maybe even a private helipad for those quick trips to his philanthropic projects. The coolest part, Ibrahim's probably got a whole floor dedicated to his Mo Ibrahim Foundation. Picture a state-of-the-art conference room where he meets with world leaders and tech geniuses to plan the future of African connectivity. It's like the United Nations, but with better Wi-Fi and a killer view. And get this, instead of a wine cellar, Ibrahim might have a server room that rivals Google's. This guy's all about using tech to change lives, so his home is probably a testing ground for the latest and greatest in communication tech. But here's the real kicker, the unexpected twist that makes Ibrahim's place stand out from your typical billionaire mansion. Word on the street is he's got a massive interactive hologram display in his main hall. It shows real-time updates on how many people in Africa are getting connected to the internet thanks to his work. It's like a scoreboard for philanthropy, and Ibrahim's team is winning big time. So while other billionaires might be showing off their gold-plated cars or rare art collections, Ibrahim's flexing his tech muscles to make a real difference. Funo Alakija. Tech isn't the only way to build a billion-dollar empire. Sometimes all it takes is a needle, thread, and a whole lot of oil. Nigeria's richest woman proves you can have it all, and her home is living proof. Meet Funo Alakija, number 14 on our list with a net worth of $1.5 billion. This isn't just another rags to riches story. Alakija's journey from fashion designer to oil tycoon is as unique as her mansion. She started out as the founder of Supreme Stitches, a fashion label that dressed Nigeria's elite. We're talking about the wife of former military president Ibrahim Babangida rocking Alakija's designs. But Alakija wasn't content with just fashion fame. She set her sights on something bigger, way bigger. In a move that'd make most fashion designers' heads spin, Alakija snagged an oil prospecting license. That's right, she went from stitching seams to striking black gold, and boy, did that decision pay off. Now let's talk about her crib. Imagine a place where haute couture meets high-stakes oil business. Alakija's mansion is a perfect blend of her two worlds. The entrance, probably decked out with sculptures made from oil barrels, but painted in patterns inspired by her fashion days. You might think an oil tycoon's home would be all dark and moody, but not Alakija's. Word is, her living room's got floor-to-ceiling windows that let in tons of natural light, perfect for showing off the custom-designed furniture that pays homage to her fashion roots. But the real showstopper, a massive wardrobe that'd make even the biggest fashionistas jealous. We're talking about a room bigger than most people's apartments, filled with designer pieces and some of Alakija's own creations. It's like a museum of fashion history, right in her own home. Don't think Alakija forgot about her oil empire though. She's got a home office that looks like it could run a small country. Rumor has it there's a wall-sized screen showing real-time data from her oil fields. Talk about bringing your work home with you. And get this, instead of a regular old swimming pool, Alakija's got a pool shaped like an oil drop. It's filled with crystal clear water, not crude oil, obviously, but it's a pretty clever nod to how she made her billions. But the coolest part of Alakija's pad, a room that's half design studio, half oil industry museum. One side's got sketching tables, mannequins, and bolts of luxurious fabric. The other's got oil samples, drilling maps, and maybe even a miniature oil rig. It's like the ultimate visual representation of Alakija's journey from fashion to fuel. Michael Jordan. Ever wonder what a $1.7 billion slam dunk looks like off the hardwood? Michael Jordan's home might just redefine what it means to live like a champion. Coming in at number 13 on our list is Michael Jordan with a net worth of $1.7 billion. Yeah, you heard that right. MJ's gone from Air Jordan to billionaire, and his crib is as legendary as his fadeaway jumper. Jordan's wealth ain't just from his NBA days. He's got that sweet Nike deal that's still pumping out about $100 million a year. That's some serious cash flow, even for a guy who used to fly through the air for a living. But MJ didn't stop at sneakers. He took his game from the court to the boardroom and now owns the Charlotte Hornets. That team's worth over $1 billion alone. Let's peek inside Jordan's pad. This place is like a basketball hall of fame mixed with a luxury resort. You know MJ's gotta have a full-size basketball court in there, but this ain't your average gym court. Word is, it's decked out with the latest tech to analyze shots and track performance. Even in retirement, Jordan's still perfecting his game, and you can bet there's a massive private gym too. Gotta keep those muscles NBA ready, you know. But it's not all about sports. Jordan's got a taste for the finer things now. We're talking a wine cellar that'd make a French vineyard jealous, and a cigar room that'd put a Cuban lounge to shame. But here's where it gets wild. You know those trophies MJ won? 6 NBA championships, 5 MVPs, 2 Olympic gold medals. Well, rumor has it he's got a whole room dedicated to showing off his hardware. It's like walking into a museum of basketball greatness, except it's all about one man. Outside, Jordan's property is just as baller as the inside. Patrice Motsepe. This guy is a testament to the riches hidden beneath African soil. Meet Patrice Motsepe. Number 12 on our list with a net worth of $2 billion. This guy's got the Midas touch when it comes to mining. He founded African Rainbow Minerals and turned it into a powerhouse that digs up everything from gold to platinum. Motsepe's crib? It's like Fort Knox met a luxury resort and decided to have a party. We're talking about a place that's probably got more precious metals than some countries' reserves. The entrance alone is rumored to have doors made of solid gold. Talk about making an impression. But Motsepe ain't just about the bling. He's also Africa's first black billionaire to sign the Giving Pledge. That means he's promised to give away at least half his fortune, and his house reflects that big heart. Imagine a mansion where every room tells a story of success and giving back. The living room's probably got walls lined with rare minerals, each one tagged with info about how its mining helped local communities. It's like a museum of rocks that changed lives, and you know Motsepe's gotta have an office that'd make most CEOs jealous. Picture a room with a huge globe in the center, lit up to show all of African Rainbow Minerals operations. It's like having the whole continent at your fingertips. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Motsepe's got a whole wing of his house dedicated to his philanthropic work. We're talking about a space bigger than most people's entire homes, filled with state-of-the-art tech for planning charity projects. Outside, Motsepe's property is just as impressive. There's probably a garden filled with plants native to the areas where he mines. It's like bringing a piece of each community he works with right to his backyard. And get this, instead of a regular old pool, Motsepe might have something way cooler. Picture a water feature that looks like a miniature gold mine, complete with tiny excavators and sparkling ore at the bottom. It's like a theme park ride, but way more expensive. Strive Masiyiwa. Meet the man who didn't just connect Africa. He built a house that's more connected than most cities. But the real shocker? It's not the tech that'll blow your mind. Meet Strive Masiyiwa, number 11 on our list, with a net worth of $2.1 billion. This dude's the founder of Econet Wireless, and he's been changing the game in African telecom since the 90s. Masiyiwa didn't just build a business, he fought the government to do it. In 1998, he launched Econet Wireless Zimbabwe, and it's been nothing but up from there. Masiyiwa's home is like something out of a sci-fi movie, but with a heart of gold. The place is packed with cutting-edge tech, sure, but it's also a hub for his philanthropic work. Imagine walking into a living room where the walls are actually giant touchscreens showing real-time data on internet connectivity across Africa. The home office, it's probably got more processing power than NASA. Masiyiwa's likely got a setup that lets him video chat with his teams across the continent without even a hint of lag, and you can bet there's some next-level encryption on those calls. This is a guy who knows the value of secure communication. But Masiyiwa's pad ain't all work and no play. Word is, he's got a home theater that makes IMAX look like a flip book. We're talking about a system that can stream any show from anywhere in the world with real-time translation. It's like having the UN in your basement, but with better snacks. The coolest part of Masiyiwa's crib, though, it's gotta be the room dedicated to the Higher Life Foundation, the charity he started with his wife. Picture a space that looks like a cross between a high-tech classroom and a NASA control room. This is where Masiyiwa plans out how to help orphans and underprivileged kids across Africa. Outside, Masiyiwa's property is just as impressive. There's probably a garden with plants from all over Africa, each one connected to sensors that monitor their health and water needs. It's like having a slice of the entire continent right in your backyard. And get this, instead of a regular old swimming pool, Masiyiwa might have something way cooler. Picture a pool that uses sound waves to keep the water clean. No chemicals needed. It's like swimming in the future. Isabel dos Santos. Ever wonder what a $2.4 billion fortune looks like when it's tied to one of Africa's most disputed legacies? Isabel dos Santos' mansion tells a story of power, oil, and family ties that'll make your head spin. Coming in at number 10 on our list is Isabel dos Santos, with a net worth of $2.4 billion. She's known as Africa's richest woman, but that title comes with some serious baggage. Isabel's the daughter of Angola's former president, Jose Eduardo dos Santos. And let's just say, having a president for a dad definitely opened some doors. Isabel made her billions through investments in oil and telecom. Her dad helped her snag some sweet executive positions, including being the head of Angola's national oil company, Sonangol. That's like being handed the keys to a country's entire oil fortune. No wonder she's got cash to burn. Now, let's talk about Isabel's crib. This ain't your average McMansion. We're talking about a place that screams, I've got oil money from every corner. The entrance? Probably decked out with chandeliers worth more than most people's entire houses. And you can bet those chandeliers are powered by her own private generator, because when you're this rich, you don't worry about power outages. The living room's probably bigger than a football field, with ceilings so high you'd need a telescope to see them. And the furniture, don't expect anything from IKEA. We're talking custom-made pieces that probably cost more than a year's salary for most folks. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Isabel's got a room in her mansion dedicated to her business deals. Picture walls covered in screens showing real-time data from oil fields and telecom networks. It's like having your own personal stock exchange right in your house. Outside, the property's just as insane. There's probably a garden that'd make the Palace of Versailles look like a backyard veggie patch, and you know she's got a pool. But this ain't your average swimming hole. We're talking about a pool so big you could probably fit a small yacht in it. Oprah Winfrey. From controversy to comfort, our list takes an uplifting turn. Ever wonder what a $3 billion American dream looks like? Oprah Winfrey's home isn't just a house. It's a testament to how far determination and a powerful voice can take you. Coming in at number 9 on our list is Oprah Winfrey, with a net worth of $3 billion. This media queen ain't just rich, she's a cultural icon. Oprah's journey from talk show host to media mogul is the stuff of legends. She turned a local Chicago talk show into a global empire, and her bank account shows it. Oprah's pad is as impressive as her career. We're talking about a place that's part luxury mansion, part self-help sanctuary. The entrance, probably lined with inspirational quotes. It's like walking into one of her famous aha moments. The living room's gotta be massive, with views that'd make even billionaires jealous. But instead of just fancy art, Oprah's walls are probably covered with photos of her with world leaders and celebrities. It's like a who's who of the 20th and 21st centuries right in her living room. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Oprah's got a library that'd make the Library of Congress look like a magazine rack. We're talking floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with every book she's ever featured in her book club. It's like having the world's knowledge at your fingertips, and you know Oprah's read every single one. Outside, Oprah's property is just as mind-blowing. There's probably a garden that's bigger than most city parks, and you can bet it's not just for show. Oprah's all about that farm-to-table life, so her garden's probably producing enough organic veggies to feed a small town. Now, you might be thinking all this sounds pretty sweet, but the real showstopper in Oprah's house isn't something you can see or touch. It's the vibe. Every inch of this place is designed to inspire and uplift. It's like her whole live your best life philosophy got turned into a house. And get this, instead of a regular 50-year-old home gym, Oprah's probably got a full-on wellness center. We're talking yoga studio, meditation room, and maybe even a spa. It's like having your own personal Oprah show set, but with more zen and less drama. But the craziest part of Oprah's crib, it's got to be her closet. This ain't your average walk-in. We're talking about a room that's bigger than most people's entire homes. And it's not just filled with designer clothes, though there's plenty of those. Nah, Oprah's closet is probably organized like a museum of her life. One section for her talk show days, another for her acting career, and a whole wall dedicated to her favorite things. It's like a timeline of Oprah's success, all hanging on custom-made racks. And you know Oprah's office is next level. Picture a room with a desk that's seen more world-changing decisions than the Oval Office. There's probably a wall of screens showing her own network stats, book sales, and maybe even a live feed of her leadership academy in South Africa. It's like having the pulse of her entire empire at her fingertips. Robert Smith. Do you think $20 million can't buy much in Malibu? Robert Smith's oceanfront estate proves otherwise, with a home automation system that'd make Tony Stark envious. Meet Robert Smith, number 8 on our list, with a net worth of $4.4 billion. This guy ain't just rich, he's a tech genius who turned software into serious cash. Smith founded Vista Equity Partners, a private equity firm that's all about investing in software companies, and let me tell you, it's paid off big time. We're talking over $30 billion in assets under management, but Smith ain't just about making money. He's got a heart of gold too. He dropped $50 million on Cornell University, his alma mater, to help out with education. That's some serious giving back. Now, let's talk about Smith's crib. This ain't your average beach house. We're talking about a $20 million mansion in Malibu that screams tech mogul. The place is decked out with modern and luxurious amenities that you'd expect from someone with Smith's bank account. But here's where it gets wild. Smith's background as a former banker and engineer shows up in every corner of this place. It's like the whole house is one big, luxurious computer. The home automation system is so advanced, it probably knows what you want before you do. Imagine walking into a living room where the lights, temperature, and even the music adjust automatically based on who's in the room. It's like the house has a mind of its own. And you can bet Smith's got some custom software running the show. The kitchen, it's probably got appliances that can be controlled from Smith's phone. Want your coffee ready when you wake up? Just set it the night before on an app. Craving a snack? The fridge probably tells you what's inside and what you need to buy. But the real showstopper is Smith's home office. This ain't just a room with a desk and a computer. We're talking about a space that's more high-tech than most companies' entire IT departments. There's probably a wall of screens showing real-time data from Vista Equity's investments. It's like having the pulse of the tech industry right at your fingertips. And get this, the security system is at the next level. We're not just talking cameras and alarms. Smith's place probably has facial recognition, motion sensors, and maybe even drones patrolling the property. It's like Fort Knox but has better views and more comfortable furniture. Mike Adenuga. What happens when you mix oil money with telecom billions? You get a mansion that's part Nigerian palace, part Silicon Valley, and 100% over the top. Meet Mike Adenuga, number 7 on our list with a net worth of $4.5 billion. This guy ain't just rich, he's a telecom tycoon who turned Nigeria's second largest mobile network into serious cash. Adenuga's story is straight out of a movie. He started driving taxis to pay for college, and now he has a mansion that'd make most CEOs jealous. His company, Globacom, is a big deal in Nigeria, and he's got his fingers in the oil business too, with Conoil. Talk about diversifying your portfolio. Now, let's talk about Adenuga's crib. This ain't your average McMansion. We're talking about a place that screams, I've got telecom money from every corner. The entrance, probably decked out with a massive glow logo that lights up brighter than Times Square. And you can bet that logo's powered by Adenuga's own private cell tower. The living room's probably bigger than most people's entire houses, with ceilings so high you could fly a drone in there. And the furniture, don't expect anything off the rack. We're talking custom-made pieces that cost more than most people make in a year. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Adenuga's got a room in his mansion dedicated to his telecom empire. Picture walls covered in screens showing real-time data from Globacom's network. It's like having your own personal NASA control center, but for phone calls and text messages. Outside, the property's just as insane. There's probably a garden that's bigger than most city parks. And you know Adenuga's got a pool, but this ain't your average swimming hole. We're talking about a pool shaped like the African continent, with Nigeria lit up in Glow's signature green. Now you might be thinking all this sounds pretty sweet, but the real showstopper in Adenuga's house is the tech. Every inch of this place is probably connected to Globacom's network. Want to make a call? You've probably got better reception in Adenuga's bathroom than most people get on top of a mountain. And get this, instead of a regular old home theater, Adenuga's probably got a room that can project holograms. Imagine watching a football match where the players look like they're right there in the room with you. It's like being at the stadium, but with better snacks and no lines for the bathroom. But the craziest part of Adenuga's crib, it's gotta be the glow room. This ain't just a room with some company swag. We're talking about a space that looks like it's been beamed down from the future. The walls are probably made of giant touchscreens that let Adenuga control every aspect of his telecom empire with a swipe of his finger. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's real, and it's right there in his house. Adenuga's office is probably next level too. Picture a desk made from a solid piece of Nigerian hardwood, with a built-in holographic display that lets him video chat with his teams across Africa. David Stewart, imagine a house so advanced, it makes Silicon Valley look outdated. That's what you get when an IT mogul worth $3 billion decides to build his dream home. Meet David Stewart, number 5 on our list with a net worth of $3 billion. This guy ain't just rich, he's a tech genius who turned IT services into serious cash. Stewart founded Worldwide Technology, and it's a big deal. We're talking $14.5 billion in sales, with clients like Verizon and even the federal government. But Stewart's story ain't all smooth sailing. Growing up in the segregated South, he faced some real challenges. There were times he didn't get a paycheck and his car even got repossessed. But Stewart didn't give up. He kept pushing, and now he's got a majority stake in a company that's changing the game in tech. Now, let's talk about Stewart's crib. This ain't your average smart home. We're talking about a place that's basically a giant computer with rooms. The entrance probably got facial recognition that makes airport security look like a game of peekaboo. And you can bet that system's running on Worldwide Technology's latest software. The living room's probably bigger than most people's entire houses, with walls that are actually giant touchscreens. Want to change the channel? Just swipe the wall. Need to check your email? It's right there on the coffee table. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Stewart's got a room in his mansion dedicated to his IT empire. Picture walls covered in screens showing real-time data from Worldwide Technology's global operations. It's like having your own personal NORAD, but for tech support. Outside, the property's just as insane. There's probably a garden that's tended by robots. And you know Stewart's got a pool, but this ain't your average swimming hole. We're talking about a pool that cleans itself, adjusts its temperature automatically, and probably even talks to you while you're doing laps. Now, you might be thinking all this sounds pretty sweet, but the real showstopper in Stewart's house is the tech you can't see. Every inch of this place is probably connected to a network that's more secure than Fort Knox. Want to turn on the AC? It probably requires a retinal scan and a voice command in Klingon. And get this, instead of a regular old home office, Stewart's probably got a room that can simulate any environment on Earth. Need to prep for a meeting in Tokyo? Just press a button, and suddenly you're surrounded by a perfect 3D replica of the client's office. It's like having a holodeck, but for business meetings. Rihanna. Our next billionaire didn't just change the music game, she rewrote the rules for the entire beauty industry. And her house, let's just say it's as groundbreaking as her career. Meet Rihanna, number 4 on our list, with a net worth of $1.7 billion. This bad gal ain't just rich from her music, she's a full-on beauty and fashion mogul. Rihanna turned her star power into serious cash with Fenty Beauty, and now she's got a crib that's as unique as her empire. Rihanna's pad is like a physical representation of her journey from pop star to business queen. The entrance, probably lined with platinum records on one side and best-selling Fenty products on the other. It's like walking through a timeline of Riri's success. The living room's gotta be massive, with views that'd make even billionaires jealous. But instead of just fancy art, Rihanna's walls are probably covered with prototypes of her latest Fenty designs. It's like living in the world's most luxurious R&D lab. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Rihanna's got a room in her mansion dedicated to her music career. Picture a state-of-the-art recording studio that'd make most professional setups look like karaoke bars. And you can bet there's a dance floor nearby for when inspiration strikes. Outside, Rihanna's property is just as mind-blowing. There's probably a garden filled with plants used in her Fenty Beauty products. It's like having a botanical garden, but make it glamorous. And you know Riri's got a pool. but this ain't your average swimming hole. We're talking about a pool with an underwater sound system so she can keep the party going even when she's doing laps. Now, you might be thinking all this sounds pretty sweet, but the real showstopper in Rihanna's house is the Fenty room. This ain't just a walk-in closet. We're talking about a space that's bigger than most Sephora stores. One side's probably dedicated to her Fenty beauty line, with every product perfectly displayed. The other side, that's gotta be for Savage X Fenty, with mannequins showing off her latest lingerie designs. And get this, instead of a regular old home gym, Rihanna's probably got a full-on glam room. We're talking multiple styling stations, professional lighting, and maybe even a small runway. Kanye West. What happens when you give a guy who thinks he's a genius $2 billion and tell him to build a house? The answer might surprise you, or maybe it won't. Meet Kanye West, number 3 on our list with a net worth of $2 billion. This ain't just another rapper turned rich. Kanye's got a whole empire built on beats, bars, and billion-dollar sneakers. His Yeezy brand with Adidas, it's making serious bank, pulling in close to $2 billion in sales in 2020 alone. Kanye's pad is like stepping into his brain, and it's as wild as you'd expect. The place is probably minimal to the max, all clean lines and open spaces. It's like living in an art gallery, but the only artist on display is Ye himself. The living room, forget couches and coffee tables. We're talking about a space that's probably emptier than Kanye's F filter, but that's the point. It's all about the vision, the aesthetic. Every inch of this place screams, I'm not a regular billionaire, I'm a cool billionaire. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Kanye's got a room in his mansion dedicated to his Yeezy empire. Picture walls lined with every sneaker he's ever designed, from the first Yeezy Boost to the latest drops. It's like a museum of hype, but instead of do not touch signs, everything's probably labeled resale value your firstborn child. Outside, Kanye's property is just as mind-bending. There's probably a garden, but don't expect roses and daisies. We're talking about plants shaped like Yeezy sneakers, or maybe a hedge maze that spells out Kanye 2024 inches when viewed from above. Now you might be thinking all this sounds pretty out there, but the real showstopper in Kanye's house is the studio. This ain't just a room with a mic and some speakers. We're talking about a space that's probably got tech from the future. Rumors say he's got a system that can sample sounds from his brain. Hear a beat in your head, bam, it's in the computer. It's like Inception, but for sick beats. And get this, instead of a regular old closet, Kanye's probably got an entire floor dedicated to his wardrobe. But it ain't just clothes. Each outfit is probably displayed like a work of art, with its own lighting and maybe even a little plaque explaining its cultural significance. It's like the Met Gala, but every day and only starring Kanye. But the craziest part of Kanye's crib, it's gotta be the visionary room. This ain't just a place for brainstorming. We're talking about a space that's probably covered floor to ceiling in whiteboard paint, every wall ready for Kanye to scribble down his next billion-dollar idea or Twitter rant. It's like living inside a giant notepad, but make it fashion. Kanye's home office is probably next level too. Picture a desk made from a solid piece of marble with a built-in holographic display that lets him design sneakers in 3D. And you can bet there's a red button somewhere that, when pressed, drops a mic from the ceiling, cause you never know when you might need to spit some bars. His collaboration with Gap in 2020 to create Yeezy Gap, that deal reportedly made $1 billion in sales in its first year. LeBron James. Talking about a guy who turned his hoop dreams into $1 billion reality. But here's the real question. How does King James live when he's off the court? Meet LeBron James, number 2 on our list with a net worth of $1 billion. This ain't just another baller with a big bank account. LeBron's the first active NBA player to hit billionaire status while still dominating on the hardwood. LeBron's got more than just championship rings in his trophy case. He's got a lifetime deal with Nike that's worth around $1 billion on its own. That's like getting paid to wear sneakers for the rest of your life. But LeBron ain't just cashing checks from Nike. He's got his fingers in all sorts of money pies, from a stake in Liverpool Football Club to his own production company, Spring Hill Entertainment. Now let's talk about LeBron's crib. This ain't your average McMansion. We're talking about a place that's part luxury pad, part high-performance training center. The entrance? Probably lined with his 4 NBA championship trophies and Olympic gold medals. It's like walking into a basketball hall of fame, but it's just one dude's house. The living room's gotta be massive, with ceilings high enough to practice dunks. But instead of just fancy art, LeBron's walls are probably covered with game-winning shots and career highlights playing on loop. It's like living inside a sports center top 10. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, LeBron's got a full-size basketball court in his house. But this ain't just any court. It's probably got cameras and sensors everywhere, analyzing every shot and move. It's like having your own personal NBA analytics department right at home. Outside, LeBron's property is just as insane. There's probably a pool that's bigger than most people's entire houses. And you know it's not just for swimming laps. It's probably got underwater treadmills and resistance jets for low-impact training. Even when he's chilling, LeBron's working on his game. But the real showstopper in LeBron's house is the recovery room. This ain't just a place with some ice packs and a massage table. We're talking about a space that's got every high-tech recovery gadget known to sports science. Cryotherapy chamber? Check. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy? You bet. It's like having the world's most advanced sports medicine clinic in your basement. And get this, instead of a regular old home office, LeBron's probably got a boardroom that'd make most CEOs jealous. Picture a massive table made from the hardwood of NBA courts he's played on, with screens showing real-time data from all his business ventures. Aliko Dangote, the cream of the crop on our list with a net worth of $12.9 billion. This guy ain't just rich, he's Africa's wealthiest man and the king of cement. Dangote founded Dangote Cement, Africa's largest cement producer, but that's just the foundation of his empire. Dangote's got his hands in everything from sugar to salt to flour. His business spans 10 African countries and pumps out 48.6 million metric tons of cement every year. That's enough to build a sidewalk from Earth to the moon, and still have some left over for a few mansions. Speaking of mansions, let's talk about Dangote's crib. This ain't your average concrete block. Dangote's pad is more like a castle, a symbol of his status as Africa's business titan. The place is probably bigger than some small towns, with views that'd make even other billionaires jealous. The entrance, probably lined with rare African art worth millions. It's like walking into a museum, but everything's for sale if you've got deep enough pockets. The living room's gotta be massive, with ceilings so high you could fit a small airplane in there. And the furniture? Don't expect anything off the rack. We're talking custom-made pieces that probably cost more than most people's entire houses. But here's where it gets wild. Word is, Dangote's got a room in his mansion dedicated to his business empire. Picture walls covered in screens showing real-time data from his cement plants across Africa. It's like having your own personal command center for an entire continent's construction industry. Outside, Dangote's property is just as mind-blowing. There's probably a garden that's bigger than most city parks. And you know Dangote's got a pool, but this ain't your average swimming hole. We're talking about a pool that's probably made from the finest imported marble, with water sourced from some secret underground spring. Now you might be thinking all this sounds pretty sweet, but the real showstopper in Dangote's house ain't something you can see or touch. It's the vibe. Every inch of this place is designed to impress, to show that Dangote ain't just another rich guy. He's the guy who's building Africa, one bag of cement at a time. And get this, instead of a regular old home office, Dangote's probably got an entire wing dedicated to his philanthropy. Cause this guy ain't just about making money. He dropped a cool $1.2 billion to set up a foundation that's all about health, education, and empowerment in Nigeria. It's like having a mini United Nations right in your house. But the craziest part of Dangote's crib, it's gotta be the helipad. Yeah, you heard that right. When you're worth $12.9 billion, you don't just drive to work, you fly, and not in some regular old helicopter. Dangote's probably got a chopper with his company logo on the side, custom built to his specs.